Hi friends. I wanted to do a book review because you guys sent me down a rabbit hole, but I don't know, I kind of like wrote down all of my thoughts that these books helped me come to, and I think it's quite interesting. So I'm gonna read you that instead of a book review. I do need to clean out my little bookshelf soon, so we'll talk about books in another video, don't worry. I don't know, I've been reading a lot of books. So today, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts that these books led me to think about, and I hope you guys find it just a little interesting because I think I have a lot of thoughts, you know? Oh, and side note, this is the Word document that I am writing in currently. Humans are mammals, at least that's how we're classified. I think understanding our biological needs helps explain or at least provide some insight on why we are the way we are. I just finished reading The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. This book. It's been giving me quite the information to ponder. You start with children. You start with background and environment. I go back to Lisa Barrett's statement, we have the type of nature that requires nurture a lot. I read a couple of very different books with very different perspectives recently. This is the result of Misty talking on the internet. In my previous book, talking like I have multiple books, sorry. I touched upon my inability to talk to men, or more accurately, not wanting to talk to men. So I decided to start talking with strangers on the internet. Not sure if this was the brightest of my ideas, but I have come to appreciate the internet for all it stands for. It has provided me with access to very different people with a range of opinions, for better or for worse. Personal opinion, I think it was for the better. I think I have learned a lot. I appreciate everybody that actually like spends their time listening to me talk. Yeah, you guys really keep me thinking and wanting more. So that's why I'm still here. Sorry, I'm gonna continue reading. As of current, I have quite the number of online friends, people I would have never talked to in person. Though their opinions cannot make up for the majority, I find their thoughts have given me a lot more to ponder, along with the angry men or bots that keep telling me to get married and get real in the comment section. These are opinions I don't have access to in my daily life. Most of my friends are well-educated individuals who grew up in New England. Even though we come from very different backgrounds in terms of culture and upbringing, we still intake similar views and opinions on more overarching topics. Yes, we have our disagreements, but also a lot more agreements. Yet the internet side of the world is showing me something very different. I'm not sure how many of these angry comments are real people, and if they are, I can't even tell you if these people truly believe what they say. But I have gotten very long, detailed descriptions of how I make them feel in very unpleasant ways, which makes me quite concerned. Every time I try to explain how it feels to be a woman hoping to bridge the gap, the bridge completely collapses. It's quite difficult to build rapport when they completely shut you out, which leads me to the question, why are these men so mad? And where does it stem from? An online friend asked me to read The Manipulated Man. Shout out to Jack. He's always giving me more books to read. I appreciate you a lot. He said that it would be interesting to hear my thoughts, so here I am. I was going to make like a detailed book review, but it just got me thinking about a lot of other things, so we're just gonna quickly go over my thoughts about this book. I can't say I agree with much of the claims made in the book. For starters, it's a very outdated book. It makes quite the extreme statements, such as, quote, when a man sees a woman cooking, washing, and cleaning, it never occurs to him that such jobs probably make her quite happy, since they are exactly at her mental level. Side note, like, I hate cleaning, so when I saw this sentence, I was a little speechless. As a reader, the more I read, the harder it was to take the material seriously. There was another sentence, so I quote, man unlike woman is beautiful because man unlike woman is a thinking creature. This sentence really made me pause and wonder if she was serious. To me, a woman, it sounded a lot more like satire, because this sentence just doesn't make any sense, especially coming from a woman writing a book full of arguments proves she's in fact thinking. Halfway through the book, I had to pause and look up the author. Is she serious? I wondered. If she was, what influenced her to make such claims? Or is she playing devil's advocate? I think the book argues that women hold emotional power, even if it was meant to be taken literal or not, to which I think she made quite a weak argument because she failed to take into consideration declaration that men are socially conditioned to provide while women are conditioned to accept such care. Why I talk about this is because literally in the first chapter, she gives an example of a car breaking down, like a woman's car breaking down, and she says like women will wait for a man to show up and help her change her tire, you know, damsel in distress type of vibe. This is a very outdated book. I think she wrote it in like 1970s or whatever. I don't know, personally, like at least for me, I don't think the woman is wrong for kind of expecting help. And in her example, like the guy offered help. Like the guy saw that the woman was having a difficult time and offered help. I don't think that's a problem. Also, this day and age, like if you're a tire bob, just call a car service. Personally, I will never wait on the side of the road for a strange man to help me with anything. That sounds like a murder mystery right there. That sounds like every murder document I have ever watched. So stay safe out there, guys. Okay, sorry. At the same time, I started reading a few more books with very different views. The book Men Who Hate Women paints quite the opposite reality. What I found really interesting is the general audience of these two books differed in gender. Under the Google book review section of The Manipulated Man, you will find comments from a range of men, while with Men Who Hate Women, you'll find almost all women leaving their thoughts. I think strictly basing our views on one book is a dangerous thing to do. I think for the most part, the answer to a book will always be another book. I wonder if the individuals in each comment section would have been able to finish a book of the completely opposite view. Because personally for me, I don't think I really enjoyed either of these books. I read it because like I'm just nosy and I like to know what people think about the stuff. So my biggest issue with The Manipulated Man is the lack of evidence and the outdated views. I'm not sure if I would say I really enjoyed Men Who Hate Women either. I think it's a very interesting perspective and needs to be talked about. I agree that on the internet we will never really know if it's another troll or someone who genuinely feels like they are the victim. Because of this, we tend to never address the issue. I think both books can come off quite problematic as a standalone. For one, The Manipulated Man victimizes men without any real evidence. The book Men Who Hate Women brings out a problem with no solution while categorizing men into groups they may not agree with. I think her Everyday Sexism project is much more interesting. If you guys Google this Everyday Sexism project, you'll see a lot of people leaving their thoughts and experiences. It's very firsthand, but like at least for that, it's like very firsthand. I think her book, like Men Who Hate Women, is more about groups of men, but it's definitely not all men. But unfortunately, she does put men into categories, which I don't really like, and I don't really like the fact that she brought up the issue and couldn't really solve the issue, and she was like, here's an issue. I also just started reading Invisible Woman: Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. Instead of psychoanalyzing why there is a gender data gap, the author focuses on proving men hold structural power through the discussion of pattern. I have known there was and always been a gender data gap, but could never pinpoint to what extent. In discussion of these patterns, it is evident that men hold structural power even if they themselves do not realize this. This is the book. It's called Invisible Woman, and I think it gives you plenty of data and examples, and if you guys like research, this is, I would say, pretty well researched, okay? I apologize to Jason. I asked him what kind of works cited format that he likes, and he said MLA. I also really like MLA over APA. Today's not a research video, unfortunately, but in the future, if I make some wild claims, I will definitely provide some sources. Yeah, but today's just like the conclusions I have come to after reading these books, okay? Okay, so from my understanding and my experience, it seems that misogyny is a response to feminism. I think feminism started as a great idea, the idea of equal rights, but currently it seems, to me at least, it's quite unachievable, as the data shows, like just how far we are from equal. It seems to me that the idea of feminism has made some men feel threatened in terms of their rights. I don't think men are losing rights. Rather, I can confidently say that men have slowly lost their roles in society to an extent. I think our long history of violence, neglect, lack of care has resulted in adults who cannot empathize. I think feminism challenges status quo, but does not provide a widely accepted replacement for traditional masculinity. In that sense, I think feminism failed. Women need to be seen and heard in order to feel safe. Yet it seems to me men want to be seen and heard just the same, making this quite a complicated issue. Biologically, we need love, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of our own privileges. But loving broken people when you're just as broken, it's quite illogical. So we give up. That's what it seems to me, that we gave up on loving, but some still want to be loved without the responsibility of meeting the other halfway. I read The Female Brain a while back. Dun dun. I would argue that it's a poorly researched book. My biggest takeaway, however, was that between genders, we still hold quite a difference, at least in our DNA. She talks about the differences between X and Y chromosomes, and the X chromosome has 900 genes while the Y chromosome only has 100. These are some differences that we cannot fully explain. And this book, and she also has another book called like The Male Brain, pretty much argues that men use analytical brain structure while women use a emotional one. But I feel like this is more of a generalization without really considering social norms. In the handbook for Clinical Neurology, Volume 175, published in 2020, Chapter 1, it talks about how MRI-based studies are found to be mostly inconsistent and inconclusive, except for brain size, but only because the brain is larger overall, so a region appears larger in comparison. It's pretty much saying that the male brains are usually bigger, so like that region in the male brain is bigger because overall, males are bigger than females. Brain structure doesn't map directly onto behavior or personality. It's more social. It's a loss of identity. I think the anger in politics nowadays too is the same displaced energy that has led some men to hate women. I feel like it's the same feeling that they don't really know how to respond to, so they're fueling it into something else is what I think. I think these men are being sold a illusion of restored identity. So it makes a lot of sense that men swing more conservative, especially the growing number of young men. Religion offers structure and certainty, also belonging. Online communities really fill that void in that sense. I think healthy communities are hard to come by, and communities in general are necessary to human development and just being human. But I feel like that void will forever be a black hole if you never get to the root of the issue. So how do we solve this problem? Well, I do have some answers. Again, easier said than done, but where do we start? First, I think society needs to redefine masculinity. We have to teach emotional literacy to the boys who have turned into angry men. Just a reminder that evolutionary row theory is not supported by any actual evidence. Hunting has been sold as a masculine activity only as of recent, because for most of history it belonged to everyone. The first thing that this book really talks about is also female warriors back in the day. The hunter and gatherer thing isn't really a gender thing. Even back in history, we were just, I guess, like taught the wrong thing. I don't know, this is like to people that like feel like they lost their role in society. I want to say that you never really lost your role in society. You were just sold an idea of one. It's a problem with our systems, not you, the individual. I'm sorry if you feel like the world hasn't treated you well, but treating others worse is not the answer. Society doesn't teach empathy, especially to men, it seems. Empathy is not biologically wired, but environmentally developed. I found that explaining doesn't work. That they don't want to hear what it's like to be a woman because they're trying their best at being a man. But I can assure you, pain doesn't come from women. It comes from being raised in a world that didn't allow you to feel anything except anger. Men aren't the problem. It's our inability to nurture them into someone more. And for that, I apologize. But apologies don't fix issues, so let's get to the core of the issue. I think I addressed the core of the issue, no? Anyways, that is that. Also, I feel like it's really up to the individual to want change too. So like, you know, no one can help you but yourself. So I'm going to stop replying to weird comments. Okay. I mean, like, if it gets me pondering, but like, if we're talking about angry men, I think I already did my fair share of research, and I'm kind of over this topic. Next topic, please. I'm gonna read you part of this book I really enjoyed. I actually cried. I wouldn't say I'm so emotional, but I'm just so empathetic, I would say. I think this is another book that I really enjoy. this one paragraph I really like a lot, and I want to remind everybody, okay? This is page 262. Quote, end quote, okay? For years, mental health professionals taught people that they could be psychologically healthy without social support. That, quote, unless you love yourself, no one else will love you, quote. Women were told that they didn't need men. People without relationships were believed to be as healthy as those who had many. These ideas contradict the fundamental biology of human species. We are social mammals and could never have survived without deeply interconnected and interdependent human connection. The truth is, you cannot love yourself unless you have been loved and are loved. The capacity to love cannot be built in isolation. End quote. So yeah, I really believe in connection. That's why I keep yapping on the internet. This book really, because it talks about development and gives you a lot of examples about like his own cases and the people he dealt with, and just how fundamental love is to human beings, and just even just connecting with people, the ability to talk and just having conversation is so important for us as social creatures. And anyways, I just really enjoyed this book. That was my rant for the day. I hope this gives you at least something more interesting to ponder. I don't want to blame this whole thing onto society, but I do want to say like, hey, it's also not a individual problem. This will conclude Misty arguing with random men on the internet. Like, for these weird comments, you're getting deleted. I think I wasted enough energy and time and thoughts on this one topic. I have other things that I want to ponder. I'll talk to you soon. Maybe with more thoughts or something more entertaining. I don't know. I don't think I'm that entertaining. My friend just called me boring the other day, so he said not in a bad way, but I'm still kind of offended. I think I'm quite entertaining. Maybe that's just like a bias. Okay, well, that is all. I think this channel will get more entertaining. Just give me some time. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just love to rant, if you guys haven't noticed. And also, if you guys have any topics that you want to discuss with me, and yeah, like give me some book recommendations, or like even just like topics that I can funnel through. I love going down rabbit holes when I have time. So that is that. Yeah. Talk to you very soon. Okay, bye-bye.